Good morning, everyone. It is 9:04, and we apologize for being a couple minutes late. We had a few technical difficulties to work out. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. We know last week Mother Nature caused us to call an audible, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Turns out it was a good call because this morning is a lot nicer than last Wednesday. With that, can we start with the roll call?
Commissioner Ashworth?
Here.
Commissioner Banks?
Here.
Commissioner Hassler?
Here.
Commissioner Thompson? Commissioner Watt?
Here.
Thank you. Can we all stand? Pledge allegiance.
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And it looks like our first order of business, Chief, is we have some deputies to swear in. Is that correct? Can we ask that the candidates from the WashU and from the airport please come forward? I wouldn't come any closer if I were you. No, that's okay. Well, this is pretty easy. All you have to do is repeat after me, if you can. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I am a citizen of the United States, that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States, the state of Missouri, and the charter and ordinances of St. Louis County, that I will faithfully adhere to the regulations provided in the rules and procedures of deputization. That's pretty good. As adopted by St. Louis County. And that I will faithfully demean myself as a deputized officer of the St. Louis County Police. So help me God. Great, thank you. Now, one quick thing here for each of you, starting first with WashU. As a deputized officer for St. Louis County, your authority is restricted to the protection of persons and property on the Washington University campus. Understood? And for our airport officers, as a deputized officer of St. Louis County, you are restricted to the protection of persons and property at Lambert St. Louis International Airport. Understood? And parking if you see me. Okay. All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations. All right, man.
Congratulations to you and to your son.
Thanks, man.
Congratulations.
Thank you. What you doing out there? Looking for you out there.
Congratulations.
What did I do with the agenda? Here it is. I got this. Okay. Chief, I think it's the part where we turn the proceedings over to you.
So am I. If I'd known it was gonna be like this, I'd have charged admission for everybody. But
You didn't?
I didn't. Thank all of you all for being here this morning. We have a lot to do, but so I'll get started. I think the first up is a commendation for Sergeant Nick Levy. Nick, you wanna come up? Nick? Chief, congratulations, sir. Thank you. Yours. Okay. Thank you. Who's up with you? Sergeant O'Hara.
Members of the board, chief, guests. This chief's commendation for Sergeant Nick Levy was appropriately given to him for his hard work on the anniversary badge project. Nick came to us at the end of 2023 and recognized that our anniversary was coming up and that we needed a new badge. So after getting permission from the chief, Nick was given the task of making the badge or designing the badge, finding vendors, working out the pricing on it, figuring out the distribution on it. So all in all, Nick designed 13 badges with that. In addition to that, Nick was also able to work in a little bit of pricing on it that came back to the Welfare Association, which obviously helps out members of our department in times of need. $8,100 came back to the Welfare Association after all the initial badges were sold. So Nick is also, he's a 17-year employee. He's been promoted for 2 years, right? I do have to say a few things. Nick used to work for me up in the 1st Precinct prior to being promoted. He was a leader on our squad. Obviously, he took leadership to do this badge project. He was also a trusted field trainer and a mentor to a lot of people on our squad. So with that, thank you, Nick. We appreciate your hard work on this project.
Nick, you got anybody here with you?
Oh, it's just me, boss.
Just you? A couple life-saving awards for Sergeant Daniel Schroeder and Police Officer Mark Myers. Come on up. Congratulations. Mark? Congratulations, sir. Okay, very much staying here. I'll be in the middle.
Great.
Good. Good. Captain Lawson.
Chairman Banks, Commissioners, Chief Gregory, ladies and gentlemen. Officer Myers and Sergeant Schrader are being recognized for their efforts in a life-saving event on September 4th, 2023 in the Afton Southwest Precinct. On that day, at about 12:48 p.m., Officer Myers observed a car drive off of the roadway.
Got our attention, Captain.
Not the right way. In the area of Town South Road and Old Tesson Ferry. It was a 2006 Acura. As it drove off the roadway and onto the landscaping, it drove through the area into a brick pillar that fell onto the car at 12,692 Lamplighter Square. Officer Myers approached the passenger side window, recognized that the driver was unconscious and not responsive. The car was locked, windows were up, and the rear tires were in a motion of going forward, but he couldn't because of the pillar that fell upon it. He broke the window with his ass baton, reached in, put the car into park, turned the car off, and tried to determine if the gentleman driving the car was conscious or had a pulse. He did not. He went around to the driver's side, opened the door, removed Mr. Middlecamp, who had apparently suffered some type of cardiac event. He had called for EMS, began CPR immediately, and while he was doing that, waiting for EMS to arrive from the Millville Fire Protection District, Sergeant Schrader arrived, continued to assist with the CPR. The paramedics arrived on scene. Paramedic Andrea McKenzie and Jack Silver took over life-saving efforts with their equipment. Eventually did get a pulse and some breathing going. Took him to St. Anthony's where he was stabilized. Eventually transferred to Barnes where he had other life-saving activities done by his cardiologist and the medical staff. And he was able to come out of the hospital in a good condition, conscious and everything. Andrea took the time to send information to our department to recognize the efforts that these two officers put into this in saving this gentleman's life. Without their efforts, she is sure that he probably would not have had a positive outcome. At this time, I'd like to recognize Mr. Stephen Middlecamp. Stand up, sir. And Andrea McKenzie, paramedic from the Their quick actions on that day represent not only on yourselves, but the department, and also the family values, the values within our department regarding human life, excellence, and cooperation. The quick actions by these officers, Officer Myers and Sergeant Trader, reflect upon you, and because of your actions, congratulations, and this is a well-deserved life-saving award. Thank you.
Sarge, got anybody here with you today?
Mom and Dad.
Mom and Dad, please stand. Where are you? Thank you. Joanne. Stand up. Where are you? Next up, board, we have some promotions. First up is Captain Aaron Schaefer. Aaron is being promoted. Your last assignment was Watch Commander of North County Trade Center.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations, sir. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Captain, got anybody here with you?
Yes, sir. My dad, stepmother, brother, sister-in-law, niece,
Come on,
and
stand up, guys.
my daughter Natalie, who is necessarily absent from school.
Being promoted to Lieutenant Joya Joy, right? Wait a minute.
You're a good side.
Right here, Joya.
Where are you coming from? Highway 6?
I
Want to meet the board?
you doing? Thank you. That's right.
Joy, you got anybody here with you?
My family.
Please stand. Being promoted to Lieutenant Christina Foster.
Okay, right here.
Christina says she's just thrilled to get out of DPS. Chris, anybody here with you today?
I brought my parents
Where
and
the
my
parents
DPS family, of course.
Parents? Where?
Right.
I see your crew in the back there, right?
Yes.
All
You know how
right.
they
Not
travel,
anymore.
we travel in groups.
Travel in groups.
Same numbers.
Being promoted to Sergeant Ryan Hansen. See you dressed up today, huh?
Yes, sir.
Get Lori.
Ryan, who's here with you?
I got my wife Lindsay, my son Nolan, my
Come on, guys,
mother-in-law,
stand up, let us see it.
dad.
Okay, promoted to sergeant, Brittany Thomas. Brittany, congrats. Brittany, you leaving SRU, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, got anybody here with you?
Yes, I have my family, and then, of course, SRU, and
Come
newly
on, guys,
retired
stand up, let
Larry
us see.
Fields.
Where's the family? Next up, being promoted to Sergeant Carlos Smith.
He gave you a hard time.
Carlos, let's put it big enough. Oh, who's here with you?
I have my wife, my aunt, my mother, and I hope the sergeants, lieutenants, and captains they have me here.
And next up, Sergeant Kyle Trom, being promoted to sergeant.
Thank you.
All right, great. Scott, you live in Tack House?
Yes, sir.
Okay, who's here with you?
My wife Kate, my 3 kids, Everett, Weston, and Vera.
And next up, Ms. Modlin Best, being promoted to fingerprint unit supervisor. Thank you. Forward. Anybody here with you?
Unfortunately, my husband had to travel for work, so I have my lab family with me in the back.
Thank you, guys. I just want to say congratulations to all of y'all that just were recently promoted. You worked hard to get to this point. We've talked about this before. You got duties out there to carry on. So again, congratulations to you. It's all yours, Commissioner.
All right, well, thank you, everyone. We are about to get into the nuts and bolts of our meeting. This may be one of the few times that the police give you a head start. So, want to get out? Now's the time. You're welcome to stay.
I'm just so excited.
Chief. I guess we'll blame you. You know how to clear a room. Nobody ever takes us up on the offer to stay. They never stay. They never stay. Don't take it personally.
For good reason, I'm sure.
Very
Okay,
good morning.
good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Okay, I'm going to start with the 2024, and that's the final report that I'll give. And that was, we returned about 7.9 million, and over 6 of that was for salaries and fringes. And that included the pay down. That was about $4 million or so. So then for 2025, if you guys did look at it, I didn't mean to scare you, but I have showing a $3.8 million deficit, but I am not including any fringes or any operational accounts. It's just too early to do that. You know how I was last year at the end of the year, they were still doing retirement. So, but it is going to be tight. We have an 11.9 million salary lag. That's what county took from us. So trying to cover that with the retirement payouts, which we almost are all the way to budget, and overtime. So that is really it for 2025. And then, the ARPA funds, we are pretty current on that. I just received a few more invoices, and we have received about 9 million in reimbursements, but they consistently give me invoices, and it's just whether I get them reimbursed or not. They take a little bit. But that is it. Do you have any questions? I knew you would.
She looked at you and she said she knew
Yeah,
you would.
I go right to him.
I'm sorry. So looking only at 25, Terry, but
Yeah.
looking at, comparing it to 24, our budget, salary budget for 24 was 91 million. Our salary budget for 225 is 100 million. And there's already a surplus of $12 million, when last year we only had a surplus of 5.6. The numbers are a little, they're not parallel in how they're forecasted. How did?
That is so 24 is the ending numbers after any transfers is what the budget amount is. So it's an adjusted budget. So I transfer out of salaries for, the shortage in fringes or the shortage in retirement payouts or overtime or anything like that. So if you remember last year, you probably don't, but I had that high of a surplus last year as well. But it's just that the other accounts took away from that.
Okay. And
Does that
so
make
thank you
sense?
for the overtime piece. It's roughly equivalent year over year.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep it about the same, although it could go higher with the, higher dollar amounts, higher pay.
No doubt.
And then the retirement payouts, it's just been it's the beginning of the year. We have a lot of retirees and we've had a lot of high payouts. So we've spent like 80% of it already. So 1.5 being short is probably a little conservative. I hope not.
Thank you.
Sure. Anybody?
As Terry mentioned, the hiring lag leaves us some money to do things with what we're doing. I'm doing this not to spend all that money on other things that we need to do, because that's obviously money, salaries for policemen when we do hiring. And they're coming slowly but surely. But
Right.
we're trying not to use all that for some of this stuff that we have to deal with. Thanks,
Right.
Terry.
Sure.
I have a question
Oh,
for
sure.
you. Have all of the salary adjustments been made now?
For the CBA?
Yes.
Yes.
And what was the lag? Why were some of them?
So the lag is what was done at budget time when they took, so at the time of the budget, they took how many vacancies we had. They cut that in half, multiplied it by an average salary and fringe rate. And that's where they came up with 11.9 million. And so we have to try, that's what they said, since we had such a high surplus last year, they thought that they could do that, take that out, and we will still get by. But they also said at that meeting that if we needed more funds to hire more police officers, we would just have to go back to council. So really, though, where the surplus is going to be eaten up is with the overtime. They don't take into account that when they just look at the vacancies. But a lot of times our vacancies is what covers our shortage in overtime and retirement payouts.
What caused the delay, though, in the salary adjustments being paid to the officers?
So,
Like, my understanding is the lieutenants and above,
it took until this last pay period.
That's because it just went into effect then. That's when it went into effect, February 2nd. It was just signed. It had to go to council
Right.
separately than the other ones. So then it went to council and it just got approved like what, the 28th, I think, of January. So then you go to the next pay period, which is February 2nd.
Okay, for some reason, I
So, yeah,
thought
it
that had
wasn't
been
late.
done earlier than the 28th.
No,
No, it hasn't been over the last couple of years. It's always, bike sheriffs have always lagged behind the sergeants and patrolmen. We try our best to try to get them taken care of first, but yes, we've always had that lag and experience.
Let me build on.
Do we have the right as a board to put that back retroactive to January 1?
probably, I don't know. That would be legal question.
I couldn't hear you, what was Jennifer?
We'll
We'll discuss it
closed
if
session.
closed.
But I'm gonna, Mike, if you don't mind.
No, you're good.
If you don't mind me taking a level deeper, we were told that the council was gonna vote on it the first meeting in January, which was 5th or 6th, and it would be effective then the middle of January. Now it took another 2 weeks to get it done?
Yeah, it didn't get signed until the 28th.
Obviously, there are 3 readings that has to go through the council. They did those 3 readings before it was approved.
Yeah, it didn't go over at the same time that the police officers and sergeants and the other
Right.
CBAs, it didn't go over, it went later. So then and they did an emergency approval, I believe, on those.
Yeah, they had a special
Yeah,
council
where this
meeting.
did the 3 weeks.
We're gonna look into that
Yeah.
because these folks are owed the money, in my opinion.
Absolutely. All right, we'll hold it in closed.
But my understanding is, Chief, this year, we actually got it done quicker than we have in the past. Is that correct?
But again, it's always lag.
Yeah, there's always
yeah,
lag.
it's always behind.
We'll
gotta
wait
do it
for you
faster,
guys,
though.
do what you need to do to get these guys their money.
Yeah, because we can do it if you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, sure, thank you.
Thank you.
Crime stats?
Morning.
Good
Good morning. I can't believe they left before the crime stats.
So interesting.
I know.
Do we have the TVs working or not so much? Okay. I'll give it a second. There we go.
There we go.
Okay, so we only have 1 month here for January 2024 and January 2025. Notable events, what's noteworthy here is our use of force incidents are down over 50%. Initially, I thought it was just because we weren't having as many of them coming through, that they were still kind of lagging in the system. But when I looked into it further, I noticed that in 2024, we had a lot more instances of violence against our officers as the reason for use of force being used, whereas January of 25, it's a lot more passive of just resisting arrest or a non-combative or non-compliant subject. We also have pursuits are up 43%. In 2024, 5 out of those 7 pursuits were from patrol officers doing routine patrols or responding to calls. For January of this year, there were 9 out of 10 from patrol, so we're having more meeting our pursuit criteria. Something I have noticed that I'm monitoring a little bit is we are having more instances with juveniles involved in those pursuits. And our failure to yields are up 21%, or 173 for the month.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
In our pursuits, do we count the ones where we are called in on an ongoing pursuit already? Do those count in pursuits?
Yes, if we're
Okay.
assisting another agency,
Assisting
we
other
count it
agencies.
ourselves as well.
Okay, thank you.
And here's the map for the failure to yields. Typical from last year, we were seeing the same kind of numbers where it's predominantly in the North County Jennings and a little bit of the South County precinct. What's interesting to note is that there were 46 failure to yields by highway safety and the same number from the first precinct, even though highway safety only has 6 officers that are routinely going through the highways and conducting traffic.
Is that an abnormally high number?
Not abnormally high, but I thought it was very interesting that an entire large precinct is the same as highway safety. It shows what kind of work they're doing and how many interactions they're having with the public. For our highlights, we increased in arrests. We had 849 for the month of January. And their gun seized were down about 12, down to 62. DWI reports almost even, we're up 1 compared to December. About 56% of those are from highway safety for the DWIs. For our crime data, we're down 20% for homicides, 4 this year compared to 5 last year. Aggravated assault with hands, feet, and fists was something that I mentioned most months last year. It's still up 22.6%, but that's the lowest percentage compared to every month last year. Overall, aggravated assaults are up 3.4%, and total crimes against person is down 6.7%. Homicides by the numbers. This is where crimes against persons is slightly different than how I count. We had 1 victim that the assault occurred in January, but the victim didn't pass until February. They count it in their yearly numbers, but not in their January numbers because they count of when it was declared a homicide. I count it of when the incident occurred. So I said there were 4 homicides in their January. They say 3 for St. Louis County, but then they include 4 for the year total.
Alex, should we be consistent on that?
It's a difference of how they are counting for their investigations. They're counting when it's actually determined a homicide of when they're doing their investigations. But when it comes to crime statistics, it's when it occurred.
And what is justified?
Justified is if like somebody's committing a carjacking and you're the victim and you shoot that person and kill them, you are justified in your actions after the investigation because it was you were the victim of a crime. Crimes against property, our robbery is up 23%. The biggest number there is the strong arm robberies with 200. There are only 2, that should say 2024, sorry, 2 in 2024 and 6 in 2025. There isn't necessarily a pattern in any of those, but 3 out of the 6 from last month were from carjackings. None of them were carjackings in 2024. That's not to say that carjacking specifically are on the rise because it's only 1 month, but that is a difference of those numbers specifically. We also have our total larcenies are down 7% and our motor vehicle thefts are down 34%. We still had high motor vehicle thefts in January of 2024 due to the Kia and Hyundai thefts that were going on. Overall, crimes against property is down 16%. And crimes against society, there's not much to note here. It's down about 10%. Overall, with persons, property, and society for the year, we are down 13% compared to 2024. For our calls for service, the moving average is higher than January for every precinct, which we expect with the colder months. January of this year had more snow and freezing and frigid temperatures than January of 2024, which usually affects our self-initiated calls. Most of these were above the moving average, with only 3 of them equal or slightly lower than normal. Our top calls is pretty typical: sick case for directed, extra patrol for self-initiated. And then our traffic stop data, they will be meeting for Q1 sometime in April, I believe, for the traffic committee.
Ellie, could you back up one slide, please?
Yeah.
The
More?
directed, the burglar alarm, I'm going to round up 1,000 of those in a month. And I don't remember last year or whatever, but how many of those actually result in some sort of true burglary? And how many of them are fake is probably the bigger question.
False alarms, right?
Yeah, I would say the majority are going to be false alarms. It's a very minimal amount that results in an actual crime occurring or something along those lines.
And what do we do if there's a repeated false alarm at a particular location? In other words, it's pulling one of our officers away from more important data because you didn't set it right, or you've got a faulty switch, or...
There is a charge that's occurred, I believe, if there are
Financial
repeated.
charge?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Each time? All right, thank you.
Anything else? All right. Leave it up.
Thank you.
Nope.
Director Wagner.
Want to revisit it now? Question?
I am not going to present on the strategic plan. That would not be good. All right. All right, good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so I have some really fun things to share, or at least they're fun to me because I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to numbers. But one of the things that we really started looking at since we launched our marketing campaign was how many applications are we receiving and what's the percentage of people that are actually qualified. And we've seen some really good movement on that. So this is for commission staff. So I'm comparing January of this year to January of 24. So as you can see, we have a 92% increase in the number of applications we're getting. And our percentage of those that aren't qualified or they withdraw from the process has also gone down. So last January we were at 80%. Now we're only at 58%. So, that's really telling us that we're reaching the target market that we're trying to reach. Very similar numbers for our professional staff. We've seen a really good increase, especially in dispatch, records and care. So kind of the ones that we were struggling to kind of get those numbers for. We have a 98% increase in applications for all of pro staff. And we've taken our not best qualified numbers from 86% to 45%. So more than half of our professional staff applications are qualified for the position and they stay in the process. So we're really excited about seeing these numbers. Our marketing campaign officially launched January 1st. There were some things going on in December, but wasn't a full launch. So this is 1 month. And I'll go into some of the numbers for that as well. But when we met with the marketing company, they said typically it takes about 3 months to really kind of see those numbers start moving. So to be able to see those already is really exciting for us. Retention, of course, we're just looking at 1 month so far. So I don't want to, really dwell on these numbers too much, but we are up in resignations and retirements for both commission staff and professional staff, which we were expecting. We knew that we were going to kind of have this wave come. So we're just riding the wave. That's what we're doing right now. Our academy class that started in January, we have 22 recruits still. If you remember, we started with 25. So still really going strong with that. For our next academy class that starts in June, we have 1 confirmed, 2 that are going to final review board tomorrow, and then another 12 in background. So we have personally set our goal at 40 for this class. It's a bold goal, but I have no doubt that we can reach that. So we're well on our way for that. And then our dispatch academy starts in March 10th, I believe. We have 2 confirmed and 6 that are in the very last stage. So they're doing their medical and psych exams. We also have 1 returning dispatcher in backgrounds that would not need to go through the academy because they've already been here. So really getting to a good place in dispatch as well. On March 29th, we're having a special hiring event just for care operators, since that's kind of our highest need right now in our professional staff. We have 3 positions to fill. I have 1 in backgrounds right now, so potentially 2 more spots to fill. But we're doing that hiring event just kind of like we did with police at the academy. It's just going to be a mass hiring event at headquarters. Gives them an opportunity to go do a sit-along so they can sit with a care operator, see what it takes, and see what the job entails. So looking forward to that event. And then our new recruitment officer cars have been wrapped, so I'm excited to share those with you. Have you guys seen them out and about yet?
I have.
Okay.
They're visible.
Yes, they are absolutely visible. So this is the first one, and then this is the other design. Now, the only thing that did change on this one from the pictures, if you see like the back of the car, it says Join County PD at the very bottom. I had them go back and wrap that in black on the, outline it in black because you can't really see it with the graphics. So that really pops now. But the recruiters themselves have gotten some really good comments. One person was like, what if I actually did follow you home, to get a new career? But we thought it was catchy. So we're really excited about those. Okay, so for our marketing campaign, this is going to be a lot of numbers. So I'm going to try and just break it down very generally. But like I said, they really told us that 3 months is kind of when you start seeing numbers. And they said numbers like these are what they would normally see in that 3 months. And this is just January. So for our Google paid search, our click-through rate was 36% above the benchmark. So the click-through rate is basically how many people are seeing the ad and they click on it, or they click on one of the links that's in the ad. And in the month of January alone, we had 563 people click on the Apply Now button. Now, that does not equal how many applications we received, which is something that we've been looking at how do we shorten our application? It is a lot. Just to give you an idea, so some departments will do a very short application, and then there's a long questionnaire to fill out after. We do it all up front. So why? Kind of digging into why are we doing that? Can we capture less information? I remember when I was filling out the application, I was like, oh my gosh, this is never ending. How badly do I want this job, right? So obviously I'm glad I did, but we don't want to lose people in that. And that kind of tells us that we are absolutely losing some people in that process. And then with our social media ads, our click-through rate was 388% above the benchmark. That's huge. The marketing company actually created all new dedicated recruitment pages for us on all of the social media platforms. And so those are quickly building up the audience and everything and the engagement.
Before you leave that.
Sure.
So you can tell how many clicks were made. Can you tell where they come from, where the location?
Yes, and so that's very interesting. So I didn't put that graphic up here. So when we were meeting with them, they were talking about demographics and our average age range, and then male or female, and then they can break it down by race, they can break it down by location. And when we were looking at location, we had double the amount of people from Chicago than from St. Louis. Very strange. We're like, okay, that's interesting. Minnesota was the third, but we're thinking Minnesota probably because they have a St. Louis County. So it very well could be that people are Googling St. Louis County looking for the Minnesota one. So that one we just kind of thought was a wash, but Chicago, I have no explanation for that. So that actually tells us that we want to focus on Chicago. That you're really looking at, okay, can we do some more geofencing around Chicago? And that's where we kind of put some of our attention, but very interesting. It's kind of cool to see that.
Because I heard a radio ad for Springfield.
Yes.
Missouri Police Department.
Yes.
And I thought, okay, they're reaching in this direction.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, they've been advertising here for probably 6 months now.
Okay.
Which is interesting. I think it's kind of the same as what we're looking at. We're looking at other metro sizes or metro areas that are about the same size as us. So, somebody might be interested in both. So it's kind of the same as what we do.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then LinkedIn ads, our click-through rate is 193% above benchmark. Now, LinkedIn, our audience has grown slower on LinkedIn than it has anywhere else. So we're kind of shifting a little bit of our focus onto LinkedIn. And then streaming audio. So this is going to be like Pandora. If they're listening to any type of streaming music, we have ads on there. And really what you look at with audio ads are like the completion rate. So somebody that starts hearing it and they listen all the way through the end without hitting the skip button. And our completion rate was 6.4% above benchmark. We had a almost 96% completion rate. So that's huge. And then as far as connected TV and streaming TV, those ads, we had a completion rate of almost 99%, which is huge. Plus our actual view rate was 100%. So that means whoever comes across our ad again doesn't skip it. They may not watch it till the very last second, but they're almost completing it. And our completion rate was actually 4.3% above benchmark. And then our targeted ads, we reached 401,000 total households with our targeted ads. So targeted ads are more so like if maybe I had gone and searched law enforcement requirements or requirements to be a police officer, and then maybe a week later I have an ad that pops up for us. So they've already seen it here and they're going to see it again. But it's kind of those really just targeted, where it's specific target market that we're looking for on those ads.
A question, it's a different version of targeting. Can we target specific job functions, right? So I hear
Yes.
commission, I hear officers, but we also know we've got this detriment of talent in security officers, for example. Can
Yes.
we identify what we need from security officers to start to target people through the 6 or 8 different?
Yes, and we already do because we have, so one of the things that they set for our target market was those that are currently in security. Because in our mind, they'll either come for security or they might want to come for commission and make that change. But we have that. We also, it's all the way down to like people that are interested in guns or training to shoot, that kind of thing. So we kind of have all of these different parameters that captures both and just the market awareness as well. So. Yeah, so we're really pleased with these numbers and excited to kind of see them continue to go up and continue that. They made it, like I said, a couple tweaks to what we were doing. So focusing on some of the areas that we were struggling just a little bit in. But every one of our benchmarks are higher than or all of our measurements are higher than benchmarks, which we couldn't be happier with. Any other questions?
Well, I think the recruitment stuff is going fantastic. We love the breakdown of the numbers. Sounds like the application process is something that you could really streamline.
I think we can really impact that.
Right. You get more people you can get the information on the back end.
Yes,
The
absolutely.
attention span of your folks being very short that look on there. They don't want to go through all right.
Yeah, and actually this week we're doing, my entire unit, we're doing a process evaluation. So we're literally looking at our hiring process. Yesterday we spent 4 hours mapping it. So every single step of the process. And then today they're working on where are our touch points. So where are these areas that we're really struggling with? So they're putting little pink sticky notes up on all of the areas that are an issue right now. What can we do to change it? So I'm really excited to see at the end of this week, we'll have a whole new process that has some of those things addressed and what we can do differently and maybe who could do it differently. So.
Well done.
Yes.
How are the benchmarks established? And are the benchmarks just strictly for streaming service in general or streaming service similar to your streaming service?
Yes, so it's similar to law enforcement. So our marketing company ran all of the data so that they could do benchmarks for law enforcement specific.
Okay.
So any other law enforcement agencies, that kind of thing is what they use for their data.
I think we should share some of this information, the data that you just presented with the Police Foundation.
Absolutely.
Because I know they've been strong partners.
Yes,
in
and
providing funding for this, and along with thanking them.
Yes.
Just showing them that their money is reaping dividends.
Absolutely. And that's something that I've talked to Michelle Craig a couple times about, but of course I was waiting for these numbers to kind of be ready. So excited to share those with her and then really kind of give that 3-month update as well. And then really we're already starting to look at how can we continue that? Really the money that they gave us is 6 months.
Seed money.
So
sure.
we're coming to June a lot quicker than we kind of expected to. And so now what do we do? Do we just drop it off and then we try to pick up some of these things that, what's going to work for us? So those are conversations we're having right now too.
I think the chief does a great job of presenting that at the foundation meetings.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Any other questions?
The mapping training that Director Wagner is going to actually started up in the lab
With Lisa.
And she introduced it to Human Resources. They're going through it now. You got a week long of that.
Yes.
And we're also looking to do that with some of the other entities, within the department.
Yeah.
Trying to streamline a lot of things going on.
Yeah, I'd love to be able, now that I kind of understand the process, I'd love to be able to hopefully get our precincts through it. We often hear from officers and professional staff that each precinct kind of does things their own way. It's not that it's the wrong way, but everybody kind of has their own thing. It'd be nice to kind of get every precinct on the same page with processes, and that way it's a lot easier transition when an officer's going from one to another.
Any other questions?
All right, thank you very much.
Well done. Thank you.
Thank you. Marissa.
Morning.
Morning. All right. So before I talk about the strategic plan, I just wanted to give a brief update on Teneo. When we first wrote the strategic plan 3 years ago, we took into account every item in the Teneo report and tried to build a 5-year plan that also captured the suggestions that executive command staff had wanted to see implemented from that report. As we continue to work our way through the 103 key activities of the strategic plan, we have found that most of the complete or pending Teneo recommendations have been absorbed in some way. For instance, some of the completed items in the Teneo report that we've seen in the strategic plan include the development of an employee satisfaction survey, focusing on diverse recruitment strategies, which is hit on in various key activities in the plan, establishment of a wellness unit and peer support, which is very central to other key activities in the strategic plan, uploading the sergeant's test into Power DMS, which is a way in which within the plan we're trying to utilize technology to make everything easier for everybody. Some in-progress items in the Teneo report that again are in the strategic plan include commission positions that are transitioning to professional staff, improving evidence room technology through the construction of a new precinct, property control, RIC, and Intel Center, prioritizing community engagement, which again is various key activities throughout the plan, along with a workload staffing analysis, which is actually an established key activity. And there's a lot of key activities that kind of have to come before we even get to that in our plan. So therefore, moving forward, in order to just eliminate duplicate work and really try to streamline our efforts on one plan with a lot of working elements, we're going to start discontinuing the Teneo report and focus on the strategic plan since they're already kind of married together.
Understood.
All right, so on to the update. In Q4, we were able to move 9 completed key activities to 12, 60 in progress key activities to 56, 9 reoccurring key activities to 13, and 25 not started key activities to 22. Compared to this time last year, we've seen a lot of progress in the strategic plan for year 2. Comparatively, there was an increase in all completed, in progress, and reoccurring key activities. Completed items went up 8.8%, in progress items went up 13.6%, reoccurring ones went up 6.8%, and not started key activities decreased by 29.1%. So just a highlight of the key activities that were completed in Q4. One of those was to expand the department's public portal to share information in a more user-friendly format and explore the opportunities to expand the scope of information shared. This was done by the Chief's Office Committee. In order to first do this, we actually looked to the survey that we sent out to the public before the strategic plan was published in 2022. Within that survey, we asked a lot of different questions, and one of them was, what type of data do you want to see from us? So we took that as our starting point and kind of saw what was possible, what wasn't, discussed that with executive command staff. And from there, we ended up revamping our public-facing crime map. It now includes traffic accident data in areas that are patrolled by St. Louis County. And we also added links to sex offender registration and other department reports, such as our BPS annual report and other annual reports that have personnel data in it, which was something that the public really wanted to see. And just kind of give you a brief overview what it looks like. This was actually our crime map before we did the revamp. And this is what it looks like currently. So on your left, you still have the incidents. On the right, you got the traffic accidents. And on that upper right, you have a drop down with those hyperlinks that I mentioned. Another completed key activity was to create and implement a leadership program and corresponding process. We hired a program manager in fall of 2024. Enrollment opened later in Q4, and currently the first class is already in progress. For the key activities that were completed and moved to a reoccurring status in Q4, those include create new strategies for violent crime-related enforcement and prosecution. This was a key activity that we obviously were doing before it was assigned to the committee. For instance, VCI has their own separate prosecutor that they use. They've seen a lot of good luck with that. The Special Ops Committee took this over and kind of saw what ways they could try to expand this and methods and energies that they could focus on. So they actually ended up researching various pursuit technologies, and they have forwarded their recommendations on that to the use committee, and they're currently looking into those. Another recurring key activity was to reduce all traffic-related incidents. Again, something we were doing before it was assigned. We already do saturation patrols. However, the Special Ops Committee was looking at our 4 operational helicopters, and they have there's currently a discussion between TAC, Metro Air, and Highway Safety on a process in which they can try to utilize those in traffic enforcement efforts in the future. Another one was to develop a department-wide talent strategy, including how to source, hire, engage, onboard, and retain talent. There's a lot of components to this, and there's a lot of overlap. So this one has, in terms of the hiring, we have the targeted marketing campaign that HR is doing, and currently the hybrid committee is working on 2 other key activities that focus a lot on the retention. So just in order to eliminate that duplicate work and just allow the hybrid committee to focus on those retention components and the other key activities, we thought it was best to move this into a complete reoccurring status. And the last one was to enhance ways to solicit employee input, including conducting an employee engagement survey. This was actually never assigned to the committee. It was completed outside of it. The first survey was conducted last year, and HR plans on rolling it out again, hopefully in Q3 of this year. So looking forward in Q3, we have a lot of really large items that our committees are working on, and I just wanted to highlight two really big ones that have kind of started gaining a lot of momentum. One of those is to conduct an evaluation to determine if certain job tasks can be automated. This is currently being done by the hybrid committee. They had submitted a proposal to executive command staff to request a use of in-house processes, the process map, to identify bottlenecks, inefficiencies, and it's just the first step to help improve the workflow and identifying where we could potentially automate in the future. So in order to do this, they've partnered with St. Louis County Government Performance Unit, and they're going to assist in providing training and facilitate the creation of a process map. The Personnel Services Unit is the first one to undergo this, and the hope is that we're eventually going to hit all of our different work elements down the line. Another one that's currently moving is also to formalize a process that directs commanders to engage their work elements to determine satisfaction, needs, and recommendations for improvement. Executive command staff has already approved that each division and all precincts will have a representative that's going to attend command staff on a rotating schedule. The hybrid committee had previously conducted an informal survey of patrol officers to determine what information that they wanted to see from their commanders. From that survey, a list of questions was created, and it was distributed to all the commanders in the division of patrol. And the hope that we're going to be sending those same questions to the other commanders in different divisions down the line. Currently, I just received all of those documents. They'll be going to executive command staff for review and approval. And once those have been approved, they're going to be uploaded into HUD so the officers can access them at any point. So overall, we're beginning to see a lot of overlap within the plan as we start year 3, and we're really going to work this year on ensuring that our communication amongst the various committees and the committee chairs is enhanced. We've had it, when we've had committee members from other committees sit on ours, if, our stuff impacts them, it's just a lot of information sharing and trying to find ways in which we can better streamline that for everybody. So we're not duplicating work, but we're making the most of what's coming out of these committees. And overall, we have 54% of the plan already in progress, and there's a lot of work being done, and we're really excited to see what we can accomplish in year 3. So, any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Wait, I'm sorry, wait.
I have to. Did you do a year-end Teneo report? So we heard you say you're going to start to put it underneath the strategic plan, but did you do that year-end Teneo report? It's got the color codes on it and stuff. And
I believe we have something in our office. I believe Rachel did that.
Could you have her send it to us? And the reason we ask is obviously this information is important to the board, important to the department, but we also use it as external communication. So for example, we've been sharing it. Commissioner Wild and I met with the RBC here, close to a year ago, to give them an update. They have new leadership. I think it would be great for us to provide the RBC and others with both the Teneo report and the strategic plan information. So if you could have those sent to us, we can talk about how we use that to influence some of our key stakeholders. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We were instructed to bring in captains and unit directors.
Sure.
Short report
Yep.
to the board on what's going on in their precincts and their units.
Absolutely.
And first to do that, very limited discussion as to what's going on with them. And first up is Captain Meany from the African Lime precinct.
Thank you.
This is our most important precinct, so
There
everybody
we
pay
go.
attention.
There we
He says you already know. Good morning, Captain.
Good morning. Morning, sir, ma'am.
Morning, sir.
Just want to give you a brief introduction of the Afton Southwest Precinct. March 15th, 2025 marks our 1 year of occupying this new precinct located at 11,500 Gravel-ish Road. As you know, this building was named after Blake Snyder. He was one of our fallen officers. We're completing the final punch list on the building. Next week will be our final meeting on March 7th, 2025, to finalize everything. As you can see out front there, that's the new building. We won an award. Chief was at the gala a couple of weeks ago. We got nominated for Commercial New Construction Award by the Afton Lee May Chamber of Commerce. So we received a plaque for our new facility. So they nominated us as a new construction site, new for the community. So that was awesome there. As far as our staffing, our precinct is sitting at 64 police officers, which is 5 short of our authorized. But the one thing I like to say, the new mobile precinct has done a great job in assisting us when we're shorthanded. So that's a plus. Have 3 lieutenants, Lieutenant Sean McGuire and Lieutenant Kurt Hauser, they're here. Joni Jensen, she's away at command leadership training, so she's the other lieutenant. I have 8 sergeants, 2 MPOs, and 1 precinct detective. We're all full with our community, our municipal contracts, the Village of Marlboro, City of Green Park, and Grantwood Village. We have all our contract schools filled, which include our school districts of Afton, Bayless, and Lindbergh, and Melville. As far as the crime statistics going forward here, we're down 16.5% of crimes against persons. As Ally stated, aggravated assaults and fights are what's generating assaults to go up. Let's look at crimes against property. We're down 32.5%. We're doing pretty good there. We're down in all categories. We did see a significant uptick in motor vehicle theft during the cold weather. People were warming their cars up and leaving them running, so that kind of pushed up the motor vehicle thefts. We're going to combat this crime by reviewing crime data and utilizing hotspot policing. Our officers are encouraged to complete more proactive policing patrols in our business corridor and our neighborhoods. And we will be focusing on open garage doors. This is a way to have our long-term community policing model kind of out there. Open garage doors can directly contact the homeowner. If the garage is open, we can also leave a card letting them know that we found an open garage during the night patrols. As far as community engagement, we continue to strive to be easy, accessible to the public. We enjoy strong relationships with local businesses such as our South County Police Business Association, Citizens Academy Alumni Association, and Afton Community Improvement Association, multiple chambers of commerce, the Elks Lodge, and the Kiwanis Clubs. These relationships represent our department very well. They also recognize our hardworking officers by giving them awards during the monthly and quarterly and end of the year recognition and excellent work for their excellent work for the precinct officers. And last but not least, sorry about that. We're doing school threat assessments for all our schools, our high schools and our elementary schools. As you know, probably know through media and social media, in 2023 and 2024, police departments across the country dealt with numerous social media school shooting threats. So our department has taken it upon ourselves to start completing school threat assessments. We started last month by updating necessary information for the schools and the districts we patrol. It's a great way to do a walkthrough through the schools and meet the administrators and the teachers and all the people that are in the school district. With that, emergency response policies and schematic views are actually looked at with the schools. We have great success with meeting just like the superintendents and things of that nature. So it's going very well at this point. So we've completed 2 high schools and we have 2 more to do, and then we'll move on to the elementary and the lower grade schools. Walk and talks are on the agenda for 2025 as well. We'll be doing walk and talks in our neighborhood as well as in our business corridors. Like I said, with that, we're gonna do combating these crimes by utilizing hotspot policing and self-initiated activity. So we're doing pretty good. Our crime stats are looking really good at this time, so we want to keep pushing and staying on patrol as best we can and keep these numbers down.
Do you see a shift or a change in the number of incidents happening at the elementary school versus the high school level?
No, it's about the same.
About the same.
It's just basically, you're probably gonna look at the high school because there's more older kids than younger kids, but it's pretty much about the same.
What would you say was your number one challenge in the Afton precinct? You got a captive audience here, so you can tell us what's the number one challenge.
The number one challenge, it was getting into the new precinct, getting these officers a place where they can work and they can work hard and be comfortable and they can do the job more effectively. Being in the new precinct has boosted morale. I can say that a lot of the officers are very hardworking there. They get a lot of awards, as Chief can kind of attest to that a lot of these businesses down there, they care about the police, and they nominate a lot of our officers for awards for each quarter, monthly, and yearly awards. So,
any questions?
I've had the opportunity to ride twice in your precinct in the last several months, and I've always been very, very impressed by the officers. How the morale just seems to be very strong, and I think the leadership there is very strong. The one thing that I would ask you and really all of our management is to make sure these guys slow down and watch the computers while they multitask in so many ways, but just want to keep them safe and keep the public safe.
Duly noted.
Saying you were scared when you were riding?
Any other questions?
Hey, speaking of ride along, obviously being a new member, I certainly would like to participate.
Sure.
Ride along. So what is the process?
We'll get you fixed up.
Okay.
We'll take care of that.
Get your
Might as well
badge.
start there.
Yeah. Get your vest and a badge. I was wondering if I could do something, if I can get Lieutenant McGuire, Kurt Hauser.
Is this going to be a song?
All right. It's a trio.
I'm a dancer.
The Means Trio.
All right.
So, Chief, we just wanted to say we appreciate all your support that you give for us and getting this precinct up and going. And I know, as you can see, that was the opening ceremony day, and we wanted to actually give you this from the 3rd precinct and say thank you for all your support.
Shock for me.
He didn't sign it.
Come on, Sean.
He spoke to me earlier.
Right in the light.
You'll be in a couple hundred pictures. You'll see all over the place. We're all in the background with our fingers on our toes and scratching our heads. It never fails. Thank you.
So much for the witness protection.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, Captain.
Thank you.
Just never know. Lisa, you're up next. You got a gift for me too?
She's got a beaker of sulfuric acid for you.
All right. Good morning. I'm Lisa Campbell. I'm the director of the Crime Laboratory. I've been with the department for 25 years. So in addition to providing laboratory services to the St. Louis County Police, we also provide services to 88 municipalities, which consist of 51 police departments. We provide services to federal agencies assigned to the Eastern District of Missouri. We are accredited to ISO 17025, which is a global quality standard for testing and calibration laboratories. We're assessed in some capacity each year with our next assessment scheduled for the last week of March. We follow the quality assurance standards for DNA testing laboratories as established by the FBI in order to use the Combined DNA Index System, which is CODIS, or the International DNA Database. We also follow industry best practices as established by NIST and the Organization of Scientific Area Committees for Forensic Science. We have 57 total laboratory staff members. A typical training program for a forensic scientist is 1 to 3 years, depending on the discipline of expertise, and about 4 to 8 months for those serving in the role as a technician. We received 10,530 requests for testing in 2024, and we completed 10,435 requests. We receive approximately 45,000 items annually for testing. Our largest section of the laboratory is the biology DNA section. Their primary function is to identify proteins and enzymes commonly found in body fluids and identify trace evidence and conduct DNA STR analysis to include or exclude contributors from crime scene evidence. Technology in this section changes rapidly. We're always evaluating and validating new and improved testing techniques. Our most recent technological implementation has significantly increased the number of usable DNA profiles that we can develop. We released 410 DNA investigative leads in 2024. We have a drug chemistry section. They test a variety of evidentiary items for the presence of a controlled substance. They use various chemical tests and instrumental analysis and rely on the state of Missouri and federal statutes to identify if the substance itself is actually controlled. Fentanyl and methamphetamine are the most tested items in this section. We have an arson and explosive section. They work closely with the St. Louis Regional Bomb and Arson Unit. They use various testing techniques to identify explosive precursors, and the presence of ignitable liquids from a fire scene. They also provide technical assistance and training in homemade explosives region-wide. We have a firearms and tool mark section. Their primary function is to perform microscopic evaluations of tool marks with the primary function of identifying if a bullet, cartridge case, or ammunition component was fired from a particular firearm. They utilize the National Integrated Ballistic Identification Network, or NIBIN, to generate investigative leads. We generated 1,048 leads in 2024. We are implementing a new technology in the firearms discipline. So far, it's looking promising to reduce the number of inconclusives that we'll report. We have a latent section of the laboratory. The latent section analyzes latent lists and processes physical evidence to develop fingerprints for possible identification. They use the automated fingerprint identification system and next generation identification system to generate investigative leads. We released 1,390 leads in 2024. We have a 10-print unit of the laboratory. They are a 24/7 operation. They evaluate 10 print impressions taken by St. Louis County Justice Services. This is a crucial step to ensure individuals entered into the criminal justice system are properly identified and that appropriate criminal charges have been applied. We have a digital evidence section. They evaluate evidence from cell phones, computers, surveillance systems, or any storage media where that has any type of digital media on it. Challenges remain in accessing locked devices and just keeping up with technology itself. We have support staff in the form of evidence reception, LIMS administration, and we also have a photography technician that's assigned to the laboratory. All of the disciplines may be required to give expert witness testimony. Overall, that's what we do. Does anyone have any questions?
Couple of comments. First of all, thank you for the comprehensive report. I think, at least for me, I have a general notion of what a crime lab does, probably from watching too much TV. But the other thing, thank you for not using acronyms.
Yeah, we have a lot of those.
Yes, you do.
If you'd ever like a tour, please stop by.
Thank you for doing that. That was really helpful.
You're welcome.
I have a quick question for you. It seems when you watch TV, they always talk about rerunning DNA as things get better and better. Do you interact with our cold case unit
Yes.
in that regard?
We spend a significant amount of time working and re-looking at cold cases.
Do they have to be retested? Does the sample have to be retested, or?
In some instances, yes. It depends on the type of technology that we've changed. Sometimes we can go back to what would be the extracted sample itself, and then and sometimes we have to go back to the original evidence item.
And any successes in that?
Absolutely. With this newest technology we've just gotten, we are seeing significant success with going back and reworking some of these older cases.
I'd like to hear some statistics on those improvements. you know, in the future, you know?
Yeah, yes,
how
we
many
actually
cold
have an
cases?
entire spreadsheet. The girl that is the DNA technical leader for that section is a data junkie, and she has,
Yeah,
she has some crazy stats on that. So,
because I think the Police Foundation would be very interested in your work and your efforts. So if there are things that we could approach them for,
okay,
you know, to assist you.
sounds
Your
great.
57 staff, are you fully staffed there or?
We have 3 vacancies right now.
Okay.
We just had some created of a new position, and someone internally was promoted. We had a retirement and a promotion, and then we've also had another internal promotion from a vacancy. So
Gotcha.
What would be some of the top, you know, new items, equipment, technology that you would like to have if you had
Your wish list.
He's a good guy to tell too.
Our wish list, okay.
You can get back to us on that.
Yeah,
too.
right now
You
we're
can get back
actually
to
in a
us.
pretty good spot with technology. We were just able.
Thank you, Chief. Yeah, thank you, Chief.
It changes
say
rapidly.
that.
Yeah,
It
don't ever
changes
say that.
rapidly, so 6 months from now, there might be something new and improved that we would.
I think
you
Mike
know.
had to say, I'll get back to you.
Right, right. I'll get back to you on that.
Well, I went to every holiday party in the department, I think, and I'll give you the award for the best. You
I
had the
can't
best.
take any
You
credit
had the
for that.
best
We got-
crew.
we do have- we have
And
the
the
best
games
crew
they
for
were
food.
playing, it was, the morale up there is fantastic.
It's a fun one, no doubt.
Thank
Any other questions? Any other questions? Thank you. Thank you for your presentation too.
They do more team building. It keeps them working together, keeps them doing great work. Our lab is nationally known for what they do. A lot of the work, a lot of the warrants that are issued on the cases that detectives do up there, a lot of that is done because of the results that we get from our lab. So, thank you.
I toured Quantico last year with the FBI Academy, and they actually made mention of that they work with our lab quite a bit. Said it's one of the best.
Thanks, Lacey. Sergeant Manis, you're up for the update on the child center, child care.
Oh, yeah.
That is a tough act to follow. Good morning. I will make this very brief. Our construction with our St. Louis County Police Department Early Childhood Education Center is going as it should. We're still set for a May-ish opening, which is fantastic. So they've got the drywall up and they're working with the electricians and all of that right now. So we should be on target with that. Enrollment, we're looking good. We've got really good numbers. We still have some openings. I sent out another email update yesterday to our entire staff about an upcoming meet and greet that we have scheduled. We had one about 3 weeks ago, and it was well attended with the new director of the facility. And they have another one coming up here in March. So we hope to get more families to come out to that. But otherwise, everything looks good and like it should be proceeding at this point.
What is our capacity and what is our current enrollment?
So our capacity is in the 60s at any one given time, and we've got about 30 families enrolled right now. So, which is very consistent with the other facilities that the National Law Enforcement Foundation and KinderCare has seen with these types of facilities. You're talking about asking people to bring their children to a daycare facility where up until about 3 weeks ago, they couldn't meet any staff members and they haven't been able to see a building. So it's asking parents to be very trusting. So the fact that we have as many enrolled as we do, I've been told is very good. So we're looking to continue to expand those numbers. But like I said, right now, KinderCare has told me that we're looking really good on our numbers.
And our cost, the cost is the difference. There's a big difference between our cost and what they would pay commercially. Is that correct?
Yes, the cost is fantastic. KinderCare was able to come up with a $250 a week flat fee for all ages, which is unheard of. And that's due to the FOP and the National Law Enforcement Foundation and the Police Foundation, and all their fundraising efforts that they have done for this project.
What's the regular cost for, I haven't had a kid in daycare for about 30 years, so.
My youngest is 18, so it's been a little while for me too. I've heard like in the upper 300s a week from some of our young parents in the department. I talked to one yesterday that's paying about $375 a week. So, I mean, that's
It costs more for children.
Yeah,
under
infants.
2.
for tiny babies. Yeah, the babies cost the most and then it,
Once
yes.
they pass 2, then the cost drops, but it still can run anywhere from $300 to $400.
Yeah,
a
very,
week.
very
250 is a
expensive.
good price.
Yes.
Yes, 250 is apparently a very good price.
Sergeant, if we end up with 50 kids there as opposed to 30, does that take that cost and move it down?
No, it will not at this point. it just kind of depends on where the numbers sway. KinderCare are still working with it, but this is such a great rate. They've really had to increase their fundraising efforts. I know the National Law Enforcement Foundation and the FOP have been kicking it up.
One more question. So if a family has 2 children that they want to enroll, is there any discount?
There was initially, before they dropped the rate, that's something that they're still discussing, is whether or not they're going to be able to do that because they have dropped the rate so low. And our employees are also able to get a 10% discount at any KinderCare facility, not just this one. So if this location's not convenient to them, they still get a 10% discount at any of the KinderCare facilities.
Any other questions? Thank
Okay,
you. Thank you
thank
for
you.
update. All right, thank you. Well, before we get on a couple of voting things, I want Amy, make sure you put in there that Commissioner Thompson's with us now for the vote. He wasn't here for roll call, so make sure you know he's here. Okay. Next item is the approval of the January 14th, 2025 minutes that you have in your packet. Is there a motion?
I move that the minutes from the January 14th, 2025 meeting be approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Amy, do we have any communications incoming or outgoing? Okay. Old business? None. Under new business, before we get into approval of our contracts, I would put in a plug in new business under our upcoming basketball game coming up on next Saturday, March the 8th, is our rematch with the city police department. I remind everybody the city's up 2-1, so this is an important match. We're counting on Coach Mann. He's on the last year of his contract extension, so this is the year. This is the year for you to come through. It is a family event. Everyone is welcome. It's free. Again, we have free food, and we have some nice prizes. And as usual, the board is donating the grand prize. This year, it's going to be a big screen television. They don't even know that, but yeah. So we encourage everybody to attend. Under contracts, we have, I'm sorry?
13-inch.
No, we went to 15. Commissioner Wild kicked in a few extra bucks. We were able to go 15-inch. Thank you, sir, for that. Under contracts, everyone in their packet has contracts A through H, which are professional service agreements. Is there a motion for approval of the professional service agreements A through H?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Chief, we have a general order here coming up in item K. Oh, he demoted you that quickly.
Good morning.
Good morning.
General Order 25-022, Department Organization was sent to you all, I believe. The biggest changes was moving Special Response Unit from Special Operations to Division of Patrol. This unit is now considered a mobile precinct to assist the various precincts with staffing when they have manpower issues. This will allow precincts to send many officers at one time, especially as we go through a firearms transition. So those SRU officers can backfill while we get this firearms transition completed. The next big change is creating the commander of the Bureau of Logistics and Technology. This will cover the care unit, our record room, our record unit, private security, sex offender registration, the armor, vehicle supply, and our IT unit. So that will be a captain's position overseeing that bureau. Those are the two major changes.
Any questions, discussion on general order?
I do have some questions.
Yes, sir.
So the rationale for creating the new unit that you just mentioned, combining it, is what?
This will allow those unit commander, like a lieutenant or a sergeant in IT, to go straight to the captain, to the commander of the Bureau of Logistics and Technology, and kind of alleviate the constant flow of people coming into Colonel Mann's office, into the division commanding officer. So that kind of the transition of information goes from those bureaus or units to that commander, and the commander can take that straight to Lieutenant Colonel Mann. Just kind of alleviate some of the foot traffic and the questions that he's getting, try to solve some issues.
Are there internal connections between those groups that help them work more? So you hear the efficiency running this way. What about within that group? Are there some dependencies in there that they would rely on, or is it just a vertical efficiency that works?
So like the record room, care, sex offender, private security, they're all kind of grouped in that same area in the record room under Lieutenant Fumagalli. And so that kind of lieutenant can take all his issues to that commander.
So it's still the physical efficiency.
Right, it's still it's still vertical versus the horizontal.
All right, thank you. The second is unfortunately very tactical, which is in what we have in front of us. It says top above that first line, it says index as acting chief. Is that just a typo or? Very front page.
I've got you, sir. So, right, because if the chief is incapacitated, the deputy chief would become the acting chief. So there is if you look towards the back, sorry, let me figure out what page it is.
Sorry, I just had not seen that in all the ones you put before us. I've never seen that. That's why I'm inquiring.
Oh, right. It's the organization. It's so the chief, and then if he's in his absence, then deputy chief would be the acting chief.
Okay.
And then
Yeah, I get it.
Right.
So, all right, maybe we can talk about this a little bit offline because it's different than we've seen in similar type of things. And I don't know that it's right or wrong. I'm just questioning as to, is that the way it should read? And if it should read that way, can we fix them all? And where you're hearing right now, there's a lot of sensitivity around unclear language going on in the county. And I'm trying to make sure that that our language is as clear as it can be too.
Absolutely.
Right, so my third question goes down into section 4 definitions. So as you read the definition of a bureau, so you can have a bureau responsible into a bureau, you can have a captain responsible into a captain, is the way that I interpret that. Is that an accurate description?
You're just reading to a bureau?
Correct.
So I'm still not clear on what you're trying to ask.
Let me
That's
read it
okay.
the way I interpret it, not suggesting that's the
Go
way
ahead.
it's supposed to be, right?
Correct. Go ahead.
So a bureau, the definition is a component of a division, got it, something completely different,
Right.
or another bureau. So you have a bureau that's a component of and therefore responsible to another bureau, commanded by an employee with the rank of a captain. So you have a bureau that's a captain responsible to a bureau that has a captain. And that's why the way the language, and I look at my peers, they may read it completely differently. It's just, that's the way I read that opening clause.
I understand what you're saying. So
And if there's I'm sorry, if there's a confusion, then maybe we need to look at that again as far as you talked about language. We need to straighten this language out. And this maybe you got something there.
here comes Marissa. Marissa is the one that put all this together. Go ahead,
All
Marissa.
right. The bureau definition, I understand, is super confusing. Not all bureaus have captains. Some of them are lieutenants, but we specifically had to modify that definition because the bureaus of investigation is a captain's position with bureaus of crimes against property and persons, and those are lieutenants, but it's still a bureau under a bureau in that sense. That makes a little more sense.
Okay, so then the next, thank you.
Okay.
Understand that, wait. No, so then after the first paragraph, or sorry, after the first comma, it says commanded by an employee with the rank of captain, director, deputy commander, lieutenant, or sergeant. So that's where you get into the mixture. All right, thank you. I appreciate the clarification. And deputy commander is a new role?
Deputy commander?
Yeah, it's highlighted. So
Yes. So you have the deputy commander of Bureau of Drug Enforcement, you have deputy commander of the Bureaus of Investigation, Those are normally lieutenants.
Okay, so that's inherently a new role.
I think we have always had that, but that's what we are calling them now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Ashford, would you like to put this after close so we have an opportunity if you think you need further clarification
Nope,
for legal, or you're good?
As long as
Okay.
you all are clear on it and you all are clear on it, and with Larissa's understanding, I got it. Thank
Okay.
you. Okay, cool.
Any questions?
All right. Any other questions? Is there a motion that we approve the general order?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, item L, Chief, is the Municipal Police Academy bylaws. Everybody don't rush up at once, though.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Get my clues out here. So on February 6th, as Commissioner Hassler can attest to, we approved this at the Board of Managers meeting. It's the bylaws. They haven't been updated in quite a few years. So this is all current practice. You'll see in Article 3, Section 2 and Section 3, it basically just talks about how the chairman of the police board, or I'm sorry, the chairman of the Board of Managers is appointed, and the secretary, by virtue of their position as the commanding officer of operational support, is on the board as the secretary. And that's been the practice since at least a couple of years, because I've only been there for a year and a half. So let's see. And then Article 4, in the past, we had subcommittees. That is something that I am unaware of. I read that and I said, we don't do this. So we looked into it, and that's actually where our training committee comes into play. The training committee is established under General Order 75, and it's various members of our police department. They meet once a year in August, and they go through some of the topics such as continuing education, basic training curriculum, firearms, and physical fitness. They make decisions on what we're going to teach for the next year, especially in service. And in the past, the subcommittees really involved some of the municipalities. Well, our Board of Managers has municipalities represented, so all of that is presented to them before it's approved. So it keeps them involved in those decisions. We'll move all the way back to standards of admission. We do allow agencies outside of St. Louis County. We have St. Peter's that comes to our academy. We've got a couple others, some other counties, in fact. And as long as they're fully paid for by that agency, they can attend the academy in St. Louis County. And that's pretty much it. There's one page that has to be signed by you all if you approve it. And other than that, pretty simple. All current policy, just updating the paperwork. Any questions?
Commissioner Hassler, any input on that? You were there.
I was there.
Okay.
Well, Captain did a fine job of that. Chief was there also. So
Okay.
he-
Yeah, it was
We're
about
in
3
agreement.
different
You're okay
meetings
with
we
it?
talked
Oh,
about
yeah,
this,
yeah.
so.
It was just a matter of updating it, so.
And I
Nothing-
presume we'll have to revise these bylaws with the new regional academy that we're contemplating?
That's probably a question for somebody else, because I'm not involved in that top secret information. However, my belief is that they are trying to focus on shaping that around our current procedure, so that it may not be too different other than other counties and agencies being involved.
And so it probably would need to be updated at all other than.
Yeah, every procedure would be
Because we already are
updated. to
serving
include-
other municipalities. and other
Absolutely.
Counties, so.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the Municipal Police Academy?
So
bylaws?
moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
Chief, item M, the establishment and creation of these professional staff job classifications.
Okay. As we've talked about, and you've heard here today, within our strategic plans, we had this hybrid committee, and they came up with some recommendations that we can use to try to convert some of the positions that we have had on this department from commissions to civilian, in order to give us hopefully more officers out on the street, putting them out on the street, and again, opening up more positions for the professional staff. They met with Lisa, the executive command staff, deputy chief, met with Lisa, and we came up with about 19 different positions that we would consider, that they voted on, to possibly make them commission to profession. At this point, we picked these 4 that the captain's going to speak with you about, going from, again, commission to professional. Captain.
Long time no see. How are you?
Yes, I'm back. So the first position is the director, excuse me, of the Bureau of Communications. It's currently a captain's position as a commander. They will oversee all operations in our communication center.
That has been a captain's position for a number of years. And the reasoning behind it is that we want someone in a commissioned position to handle things within the communications as they would out on the street. But the communications director is just going to handle things within the communications. We got officers, captains, commanders out on the street to handle any police issues. Their job would just be to handle the operations within communications. Obviously, they will have some experience about police work and how we handle police work, but they're there mainly to direct what happens within communications. And that's why we've had no problem with taking that captain out of there and making it a civilian's job.
So may we ask a question around that?
Sure.
So, Chief, thank you, because it's a very operationally focused position summary. I mean, the first line says detailed work and develop and implement. Does the current captain, or should this role also think about the future, the direction of it, or I'm going to use the word strategy loosely? Is there more than just operating, or is it truly someone else sets their strategy and the direction based on whatever's going on in the world or need, and this person's job is to execute it?
Well, that, as again, yes, the captain could do that, but the director could also do the very same thing, as to look at the future of our communications unit, see what needs to be advanced, what we can do to improve it. I know I go to a number of agencies throughout the state where their communications are handled by a civilian. Colonel Mann does also, and they're the ones that are in charge of the improvement of communications.
They also have their own accreditation manager for communications who assist with those policies and procedures to ensure that their standards are in line with CALEA.
Okay, that makes sense to me. That's not what's on here. That's my concern, right? So who you end up ultimately putting in the role today or in the future performance will be based on how well they execute, not necessarily where they take us in the future. And what I think I heard you say is it needs to be both. That's my caveat.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. But it's both. I mean, they have to look currently
both.
and they have to look to the future.
Great.
Number 2,
Oh, yeah.
the Deputy Director, Municipal Contracts Administrator. So this is currently Lieutenant Edgecomb's position under my command. This position will continue with that municipal contracts, taking care of the 78 contracts that we currently have, and any future contracts that will be coming in. In addition to that, part of succession planning and the potential that eventually my position could become a director's position into a professional staff position. In order to accomplish that, you have to have a succession plan. You have to have someone that understands CALEA, the strategic plan, the policy, the procedure process. And so having a deputy director That'll give them, the supervisors, some of the supervisory responsibilities. Once they have figured out and are comfortable with their municipal contracts position, they'll start getting some of that supervisory responsibilities, such as reviewing the policies, such as being part of our CALIA accreditation process. And then along with that, rating sheets, things of that nature. Of course, obviously, that's further down because that person has to become comfortable with this municipal contracts first. It's going to be it's an in-depth position, and it would be equivalent to deputy director is equivalent to a lieutenant's position in the department.
Lieutenant Edstrom has done a great job in handling the municipal services, and we accumulated a number of contracts through his work. This person's going to be taking up that responsibility along with some other responsibilities that he didn't have to do when he was in that position. CALIA, those type of things. So that'll be that person's job. And again, being in command when the captain's away.
Continue, please, Captain Chris.
You ready for the position number 3, the Staff Inspector Research Associate? So the Staff Inspector is responsible for all inspections within our department. So any line inspections, all our evidence inspections throughout the precincts, our property control inspections, inspections of making sure the calibration of all radar units are done by the precincts. In addition to that, we're going to add a little bit of extra work for them once they get acclimated to their staff inspector position and add some policy development to that. Again, looking at succession planning. So let's say Marissa or Rachel or Jacqueline decide to move up, find another position in the department that they would like to be part of, then we have someone coming in their place. Maybe we can keep this maybe in-house instead of, for research associates, instead of having to go outside the department.
Questions? Go ahead, number 4 then.
And number 4, the systems coordinator for the Division of Special Operations Security Services. This person is in charge of basically all the surveillance cameras throughout the county buildings, along with all the access cards for not only the department, but through all county government employees. They also are responsible for the alarm system. So the alarm, let's say an alarm goes off in the courts building. They are responsible for finding out where that alarm is and notifying the security officers or police officers to respond to that location.
Any questions? No. Okay.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to establish the creation of these staff positions?
Can we have a little more conversation?
Please.
I will support a motion. In my particular case, I will support a motion for the Division Operations Support if under duties, example of duties that has something around direction. Absent that, I will withhold my vote on that one. If we're going to vote them all together, that will be my
Your
version.
caveat would be that there be more in terms of direction for number 1.
Just a bullet around it.
Go around there.
John, for that vote meeting for this?
Yes, as a vote to establish and to assign the pay range. Any other conversation? No? Sir?
No.
No. Okay. Do you want to do them individually or you want to do them? I can do them all as one, as long as we have the caveat.
As long as we have the caveat, that's why I wanted to get before we did them all. If we're doing one-on-one, I'll just do it around the first one, but if we're doing all, that's my only caveat.
Okay. Okay. The suggestion was you do them by one, so your
Okay.
input on the first one.
Okay.
Make a motion on the first one. Is there a motion on the?
You made it. You want to
I will make a
say
motion to
formally.
approve the Director of Division of Operations Support, Director of Bureau of Communications, with the inclusion of a bullet around direction and/or strategy under duties and examples of duties.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. And number 2, the Deputy Director of Municipal Contracts. Again, we're voting to establish and to assign the pay range. Is there a motion on number 2?
So moved.
I'll second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Position 3, Staff Inspector Research Associate, establishment and assignment of pay range on this particular spot. Is there a motion?
Move to accept that position. As stated.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the last, the Systems Coordinator, Bureau of Security Services. The vote to establish and to, is there a motion to establish and to assign to the pay range?
Yes.
Moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you. Looks like positions 1 through 4 have been established and assigned to the pay range.
Thank you.
So,
Appreciate it.
sure. Thank you, Chief, and thank you for this, because I know we've been talking for a while about getting some of these commission positions moved to pro staff. So thank you for taking the initiative and getting that done, Chief. Item N, in your packets, there was a potential put forth, or a ballot initiative put forth by the council. I think it's Proposition B. And the concern was that it talked about the removal head or directors of any department, as it says in the proposal, and potential conflict it would have with our responsibility as it pertains to the superintendent or chief, as it says in the charter. Open it up to any discussion. Does anybody feels one way or the other about that?
Yeah, I think that as it's written, it's extremely difficult to follow the language, but last night at the council meeting, Chairwoman Days, and also in personal communication with 2 other councilmen, they've assured me that the Office of the Chief of Police is not included and is not considered a department head.
So was there any discussion about stating that clearly?
Well, they can't now because the ballot language is closed. They can't adjust the ballot language. But I think if it passes, it's gonna go back to litigation.
Right.
Both all 3 levels of the courts that have looked at it, in my opinion, have said there's problems with it. But at least for now, I'm comfortable with it, with the assurance of the county council chairwoman and 2 other councilmen that that's clearly the intent, is that this board would retain oversight of the chief of police.
Well, I've had similar conversations with I don't know the same people, but similar people on the council. And while I respect that this council doesn't believe that, the language changes it for any council in the future. And the way the charter reads, in section 4.010, it specifically identifies the police as a department. And so there's a very quick connection of, well, if the police is a department in the county, the chief is now a department head, which he is, right? He leads the Department of Police. Now, there's certainly other language in the charter that carves out the Department of Police, but it creates more conflict, right? And that's the biggest worry I have. It's not with this council, it's with future councils. And once the charter's changed, unless it goes back in front of the public, it's not like you can write an ordinance and do it. So I have some concerns, not so much about this council, but future councils. So Mike, I don't disagree with you. It's just, it's not about this council that I worry. It's about future councils that they could take a run at putting us right in the middle of politics, which is why we were created, right, in total. It also puts our role, depending on what a future council might do, it makes us irrelevant. And I don't think that's what the charter intended, but a future council could take a run at it.
Well, I would say, I'm sorry, you can chime in too. I think that I agree with Commissioner Ashworth, and I don't disagree with you, Mike, in terms of what they're saying their intent is, but I guess the lawyer in me goes more to the words in front of me as opposed to the intent. And the word says head or director of any department. And while to Commissioner Ashworth's point, that may be the intent of this current county council, but who's to say future county councils don't look at that and say, well, it says the head or director of any department. That's not left to interpretation. If we're a department and he's the head, or the chief is the head, it falls under that. So regardless of intent, I look at the words in front of me.
And I'm thinking that if it passes, it still will go back to litigation most likely. And at that point, we have to be sure that if the language is going to be redone, that our concern is met.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, there's really nothing we can do as a board other than to make the statement that we firmly, at least from my perspective, I firmly believe that this board was established for the appropriate purposes of overseeing the chief. And I would say, you know, the potential for litigation certainly exists because there's nothing clear about the language as written.
And to your point, both the appeals court and have said under law, it has to proceed to ballot, but both of them have said it's confusing.
Yeah.
One of them went further to use some other, unfortunately, much more derogatory language about it, but.
So Chief, it looks like you're stuck with us.
Mr. Thompson, you had some thoughts?
No, I agree. I agree with everyone on the assessment.
I guess I wanted to add too that not only the concern about a future county council, but also about a future board of police commissioners and their
Exactly.
understanding.
And that's my
Good point. Very good point.
Very good point. Where is there any type of motion that we want to Commissioner Wild's point, all we can do at this point is to take a position.
I think that it should be highlighted in the minutes that we have taken this position. And somehow, I guess somebody will read them so that they'll know where we stand publicly. I don't know how to do that, but I don't know a vote will make a difference.
I would make a motion that we don't take a position on Proposition B, but we believe strongly that the chief of police, as identified in the charter, should remain under the control of the Board of Police Commissioners.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
I second it.
Second. That makes sense.
Any other thoughts?
Yeah, but there's a motion standing, so
Yeah, that's when
I would have a second motion or a different motion, but there's a motion standing, so we'll have to vote on it. I think that's the way
Well,
the
you can
rules work.
discuss, you can have
We're gonna have
discussion right now.
So I'll try a different one. It will run opposed, it'll run directly opposite of what you said, Mike, so that's not to say,
No, it's fine.
because we're all trying to get to the right answer, right? So don't hear this as, I think you're wrong, it's just a different way to go at it. I don't know that us saying we oppose it has any value. That's my concern, right? So what? It still goes, I agree with you. I hope it goes to litigation. If it doesn't, then we're stuck with whatever it is. That would be my concern. It's going to be long-winded, so I apologize for that. I was trying to capture a little bit of what we talked about in here. We can certainly shorten it, but due to the proposed ballot amendment, Prop B, being confusing as to its impact on the chief of police, its impact on the purpose, role, and responsibilities of the Board of Police Commissioners, and the conflict the ballot amendment creates with the county charter regarding the role, responsibilities, and purpose of the board, I would make a motion that the Board of Police Commissioners do not support the ballot amendment as written.
So if you agree with that, you can send it.
I'll withdraw my motion.
Well, we still need to talk, right?
Yeah.
You heard it as long-winded and it gets a lot into the why as opposed to just saying the motion is we're not supportive, right? I want to make sure people understand.
And my question is,
It needs a second before you can discuss it.
okay, I'm sorry. I was told it has to be a second before we can discuss it.
A second to his motion.
We were, but he withdrew his
He
motion.
withdrew his. So now needs to be a second for his, for discussion.
Okay,
I second.
okay. There's a second for, now, I just wanted some clarity. Are you saying Prop B as it pertains to our authority over the superintendent / chief of police?
That is correct.
Okay, that's what I want to be clear of. That we're not making a blanket position. We're talking about the position, the Prop B, our position is based upon the potential impact that the language puts on our power.
Correct.
over
So,
them.
thank
Okay.
you. So the way I wrote it, at least I was writing it, its impact on the purpose, role, and responsibilities of this Board of Police Commissioners. And then the purpose and the conflict with the charter regarding the purpose, role, and impact of this Board of Police Commissioners, right? So
I get it now.
that was it, right? It's focused strictly on the role of the Board of Police Commissioners and chief being responsible and us.
Could you read it again so that we're real clear?
I may have it a little different because I was scratching. Again, it is too long, I know that, but due to the proposed ballot amendment, Proposition B being confusing as to its impact on the chief of police, its impact on the purpose, role, and responsibilities of this Board of Police Commissioners, and the conflict the ballot amendment creates with the county charter regarding the role, purpose, and responsibilities of this Board of Police Commissioners. I motion that the Board of Police Commissioners not support the ballot amendment as written.
And it was seconded already. Any further discussion?
I don't agree with it just because I don't think we should take an opinion on Proposition B. I think we should only, because the way that's written, we're against the other department heads.
Well, that's why I asked the question of whether it's specific to.
Board of Police Commissioners only.
But it says, at the end of your motion, it says, we do not support Proposition B.
Well, how else do we say?
This section or the single item.
As it pertains.
As it pertains to, I just think somehow in the words, I'd like to make it perfectly clear that we're only taking a position on the police department.
Again, we can reword it, Mike. That's what I was trying to get.
Okay,
That's why I went
okay,
in with
then I'm good.
The two roles impact, and then because of that, regarding, I motion that the Board of Police Commissioners oppose it because of the two things above. That's why I said it's too long.
No, that's fine with me, as long as the understanding is that we're only talking about the chief of police.
That's it.
Because I don't want to be taking a political position on.
Nope, right. I think we're all agreed there.
We can have two motions. Let's not take a political
Any other
position, but
discussion?
let's make sure we.
Any other discussion on that? Mike? Yeah. Alan?
I'm still learning, with this role, but brevity is always best for me, because when you do get into lengthy explanations on things, it can be interpreted different ways by different people. So my question for further clarification on my end about Proposition B, what is it that we disagree with as it relates to the entire proposition? I mean, I know what our position is as it stands, with the police board commission, but do we have to take a position on Proposition B at all?
My personal opinion is we should take a position as it relates to the chief of police, but we should not take a position as it relates to the other department heads within St. Louis County.
Okay,
So we're not under the purview of this board.
That we're asking for. From
Right, I get it.
It's only about our position is based only on our authority
as police
as
commissioner.
pertains to police commissioner.
But I guess just for my own edification, why, if it's not good for this department head, why would it be good for any department head?
Yeah, well, that's not our purview.
I know
Well,
it's not
but
our-
also we have charter language that establishes us as a board, and it gives us specific roles and responsibilities. So as written, in my opinion, Proposition B conflicts with the other sides of the charter, not necessarily, with the other department heads.
Right, so if it conflicts, then our position to not support it is as simple as that. And let them, through the appeals and the other courts, go through the research and find out, because during the appeal, they'll find out that our charter doesn't allow us to take that. I agree with what everyone said here. I just sometimes, when we have lengthy explanations, people can always come back and with other stuff. So that's just my opinion.
Are you ready to vote on the motion?
So question, so you've already said that it was more of.
Don't make them read it again.
Well, I'm sitting here
More
already
of a-
trying to edit stuff out.
Yeah, more of a draft. I don't think we should vote on it until the language is clear for
Right.
everybody.
Right.
That's
I agree with that.
so that, and that it's shorter, so that we're still saying, you're still alluding to the charter, that we're standing on the premise of the charter and our role as Board of Police Commissioners, that we do not support Proposition B as it is written because.
Of the charter.
Right, well, he mentioned twice when I had him do he reread it. Twice in there, I think you say, because it pertains to our authority. with the
Yeah.
police department.
That's correct. It was twice.
Didn't you say it twice?
I did.
So you don't have to say it once.
Yes, right.
Well, so that's fine. It was one, yeah, it's easy to do.
See, to your point, Mike, you know, if the charter makes it clear what our role is, then let's reference the charter and not, support it based on that. Nothing else.
The issue, though, in my opinion, is Proposition B is attempts to change some of the language
Of our charter.
that conflicts with our role in the charter.
Right. And that's why our disagreement should
Just say that.
stick to our position as it relates to the charter.
Guess we're gonna have to read it one more time.
As is, or do you want me to play with
No,
it? All right, read it as is.
Not as is, the way you've already,
Well, I'm working on it. I'm listening and trying to edit it as we go. Well, let me withdraw my proposal then. Sorry, let me withdraw my current motion so we can edit for a second. How about this? Due to the proposed ballot amendment, Prop B, being confusing as to its impact on the chief of police and the charter regarding the role, responsibilities, and purpose of the Board of Police Commissioners, I motion that the Board of Police Commissioners not support ballot amendment as written.
I think that addresses all
Second.
this. What do you
that's
think?
fine.
Does that address your concern?
Motion is a second. Any further discussion before the vote?
As written, that says that the police board is against Proposition B. That's the headline.
That's what we disagree with. That's why we don't
Disagree
agree with.
with, yeah, so.
You want to say because of the above, because of what I stated previously? Would that clear it up?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to be
Take off
anal
as
about
written.
it, but I'm saying
Well, I can take off as
it's not
written.
all of, it's not all of Prop B that we're making.
stated. I'm sorry.
It's just pertaining to.
Just as it pertains to only the chief of police position.
So
We-
started off saying the charter for St. Louis County states that the Board of Police Commissioners shall do such and such. Okay? The board opposes the language related to directors because we believe it impacts our authority as police commissioners.
Over.
The ugliness is we're having to try to manage between what two parties want to do, and we're sitting here negotiating over language so we don't upset anybody. That's just a terrible place that we have to be.
That is, which is why we should just reference the charter as it relates to our role only.
Right, so
That's what I said,
what
to
if we
start
just
with the
take as
charter.
written off? So
Yeah.
revised proposal would say, due to the proposed ballot amendment, Prop B, being confusing as to its impact on the chief of police and the existing county charter regarding the role, purpose, and responsibilities of the Board of Police Commissioners. The motion is that the Board of Police Commissioners will not support the ballot amendment, and just leave it at that.
I'm good with it.
Okay.
Mike?
It still says we're against the entire ballot initiative.
I don't know how you can't be against it if it's already confusing. I don't know how
Yeah.
I don't know how to do that.
Other than to say,
We can't
we
support
take,
part of it.
we only take one opinion, and that's that, the chief of police should remain under the control of the Board of Police Commissioners.
So the ballot amendment passes, that has no standing. Not that-
Well, none of what we do has standing, other than that it's going to be in the minutes, and, someday a court could look at it and say that we had an objection to it.
So if you started off with, I think what you've already said, that referring to the charter, you still say what you want to say. It's not a statement leading that we oppose the proposition. But it's in there, so if anybody wants to pull it out, they can. And that part we can't control. So say what we need to say, and whoever wants to object to it or call it political, they're gonna do that anyhow.
Well, that's my position. We're having a discussion. We have a discussion and a potential vote. We don't have to vote. Do we have to vote
We
on
can-
B or not? We can
we
have our
could-
discussion, state our opinion, go on the record what our opinion is, but we don't have to a vote that we approve or disapprove Prop B, because if we do, to Mike's point, we encapsulate the whole proposition, but we're not opposed to the entire proposition.
I think the idea of the voting was to show support from the Board of Police Commissioners, that we all agree that this isn't right. I think that's what it was. So
As it
the other
pertains to us,
side, as it pertains to us as the commissioners. The other side of that is, however, that a public, and that's what I was saying, a public statement can be made that this is our stance. And we don't have to vote on it. It doesn't have to be if we don't want to memorialize it in that way. But either way, it's going to come out. Whoever wants to twist it, can twist it. So if we vote, it doesn't make any difference. If we don't vote and make a public statement, it doesn't make any difference. We just have to decide, are we going to vote on it and stand together as a board? Or are we going to not vote on it and make a public statement that this is our stance? Either way, it's going to come out the same way in folks' heads. So it really doesn't matter. I mean, a vote isn't going to make it any worse or any better.
Okay, well, I think we had a motion.
We still have it, he's just revised it,
A revised motion in a second.
Did we get a second?
I seconded it the first time, so you just revised it, so it doesn't need another second. It just needs to have the clear statement, and then we still have to decide whether we're gonna vote on it or whether let's vote on it. Let's vote on it, and then, and then come back and say, do we just want to make a public statement?
I think the vote is a public statement.
For our position.
Our position
On record,
statement.
it is what it is,
Yeah.
so,
By
yeah,
the
we can vote.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, let's call the vote. All in favor of the revised motion by Commissioner Ashworth?
Can we read it one last time?
Punishment.
Due to the proposed ballot amendment being confusing as to its impact on the chief of police and the existing county charter regarding the role, responsibilities, and purpose of the Board of Police Commissioners, the motion is that the Board of Police Commissioners not support the amendment.
We have a motion.
Yeah.
right,
We got a
already.
second.
So you called the question.
Yeah.
I've seconded it already.
She already seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
No, any opposition? No.
Okay.
Thank you. Watching,
Is anybody awake out there?
watching the sausage made is not much fun. Amy, do we have anything for our public forum? We have nothing. Okay.
Well done. No,
All right.
appreciate the conversation. It's a good dialogue.
The Board of Police Commissioners may vote to go into closed meeting for legal advice and review of claims and lawsuits involving the police department, section 610.0211 RSMO and section 11.020.11 of SLCRO, and discussion of employee and personnel matters, section 610.0213 and 13 RSMO and sections 114.020.13 and 13 SLCRO. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call.
That's right.
Commissioner Ashworth?
Yes.
Commissioner Banks?
Yes.
Commissioner Hassler?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wild?
Yes.
We are
Oh, Rick.
back
It's only
from
Rick.
closed session. There was one vote in closed session, and it was a unanimous vote to return to open session. At this time, is there a motion to adjourn?
A motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Oh, you gotta do it the old-fashioned way.
Roll call.
Amy's gotta do roll call.
Commissioner Ashworth?
Yes.
Commissioner Banks?
Yes.
Commissioner Hassler? Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wild?
Yes.
On this, we agree.
We are adjourned.